We're back at Uptown Recording Studio with the mighty Rob Ruccia, engineer for 1st of October. I just wanted to highlight all the awesome stuff you do for 1st of October because your side of it is so interesting. Obviously, 1st of October would not exist without Rob. So I posted on the second channel community tab if people had questions for you. The top rated comment is simply, does it ever get confusing having 2 or more Robs in the studio?
No, because like I'm Ruccia.
Yeah,
so,
and I'm Scallon.
Yeah, so whenever like any of the crew is talking, they refer that way, and that makes it easier for sure.
Yeah, so that's not too confusing.
No.
What is your current favorite 1st of October song?
Oh, this year or all time? Because I mean, of all time, I think it might be Ravioli.
Yeah,
just because it's such a funny.
I
premise.
think you said something different in the last interview, but yeah, I think Ravioli.
Over time, I mean, that one is standing the test of time. But this year, I mean, Spooky Time and it's Halloween.
Yeah.
Because I'm such a fan of heavy and like
yeah, same.
7/8 string, like the heavy stuff that you bring in those instruments, and having it this year start the album. It's just big and mighty, and it's like it sets the tone that people don't expect.
Yeah,
right off the bat.
Yeah,
Spooky Time.
Yeah, I think Spooky Time might
Halloween.
be my favorite too.
Both of them.
Can I say?
Yeah.
Lonely Angel this year for me.
Lonely Angel's pretty good.
Lonely Angel really got me. I think that
I
is
really love
beautiful.
that one. Yeah.
That's the one that Andrew's a sad boy, right?
Yeah, that's probably the one that got stuck in my head the most. How different did it feel using click tracks on Chaos compared to previous year's recordings with just Rob and Andrew's timekeeping? Do you think it's something you will encourage with future Foo sessions?
On most songs, probably. I mean,
yeah? Oh, okay.
It would make it easier for you guys to just do 3 takes and then, move on instead of trying to make sure you had the right take.
Yeah.
Because then we can fly things.
If we did it to a click, let's say there's 2 choruses in the song.
Take the second one, fly it over the first one. That's a common
take the second one and put it over there, and then you have
backup vocals
guitars.
and the oohs and ahs of things. Once you have it, if it's happening in every chorus, fly it.
Yeah.
I wish I would have done it with
Jangly Bones?
No.
That's the only time you didn't get a lyric.
Oh, well,
yeah.
that's the funniest thing ever, because we went to the other take and it was also blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, we didn't have a take
It's like,
there.
yeah, he just blah, blah the whole time. Like,
I mean, it's funny. I love it.
I love it. Yeah,
love that
I
it's
like
there.
keeping that in there because on the day for that chorus, we did 2 takes and both of them, as you said, were blah blah blah. And we could have taken,
vampire. Blah, blah, blah.
yeah, blah blah. We could have taken the first chorus and flown it over, but I think it's part of what makes 1st of October fun. Like, this is the actual performance. But yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's Halloween, for example, or Spooky Time. We could have double tracked the guitars by simply
just by doing a
playing
second take to a click. Yeah.
But then I wonder, is at some point, is it less fun for it not to be the real performance? Because that blah blah blah.
That's where I think we have to remind ourselves that, like with the comment that said, you dismiss all the BS of trying to make it through and get like exactly what you would do if we spent a whole day on a song, which is what a lot of production does.
Yeah,
of course. Like they'll start in the morning and by the end of the day there's a whole track, and nothing's wrong, but you're making a whole album in a day.
What I was really curious about the click track with you is like, does it save time or does it create more time where we have to fly things and stuff here?
If it's to a grid and a click, then flying is fast. But your songs aren't long.
Yeah.
So doing 3 takes with a click of a 2-minute song, you just only ate up 6 minutes, and time is the currency of 1st of October. It's like you only get 12 hours to spend. How do you spend that? Like the first take of Spooky Time was only captured on stereo, because I was still making adjustments. Jake was asking me to move a microphone.
Blame it on me.
Hey, it's part of my grumpy engineer. I've been seeing these comments that are calling me grumpy.
I see the comments that are more like, we're just being so annoying in the studio that you're getting stressed.
It's not stress from that as much as it's like, I want to make sure that, you're like, I'm just going to move this over here. It's like, what are you moving?
Yeah.
Like, I need to know.
Yeah, of course.
So that I don't have it turned on and it's making these speakers explode or something. Because if a system doesn't work, then what are we doing?
Yeah. And I think people might have a different view of what the day is actually like when they're watching an edited.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I mean, you
this is the whole
condensed.
day.
Jake did such a killer job taking 12 into 1. And that's 1/12 of the actual scope of what actually happens. And I saw someone's comment about how messy the cabling is. It's like, well, you try. I mean, the album's called Chaos for a reason.
Yeah.
And as we mentioned last year, I'm also recording the whole dialogue and output plus the Pro Tools session.
Yeah, so for people that don't know, you're doing audio for not just an album in a day, which is nuts, but you're also doing audio for the video.
The video
of
production.
shooting. This guy. Yeah, the lav mics.
The lavs and an
stereo
output from
board.
Pro Tools that catches everything. So after I mix the 10 songs and send you guys those, then I wait for the video mix. And that's when I really get to like see what happened that day.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh yeah. Like a couple times I was like, man, I look like I'm not having as much fun as I was. Because I mean, honestly, I was having a blast.
Yeah, and we know that during the day, but when it gets crunched down to just all the most like dramatic, crazy parts,
Then
like,
sometimes it looks that way.
Yeah, like
that's the only problem is that nobody would ever spend 12 hours on YouTube watching it, but if it was just a raw director's cut, start to finish, people would be like, holy cow, like all three cameras. But that's what people need to see to fully understand the scope of what we do in one day.
Yeah, maybe like, 1 year we'll do a live stream.
Yeah.
What is something you want Rob and Andrew to improve on for the next album? Communication, probably.
Yeah, right? Maybe. I see it in the video where you guys are looking at each other like, you're waiting for him to kind of direct where it's going to go, or he's waiting for you to kind of direct where it's going to go, and that could stall.
But I meant more communication with you. Like when we didn't get the first take of the song, like we should have told you, we're going to multi-track this one.
I mean, and in the past, it was usually me waiting for you guys to say we're ready to go. If you let me know, it's like, hey, we need to roll this because we could hit some gold, then I'd be rolling it. Which I usually am, but at that point it was still getting all the levels set, getting headphones going.
Yeah, that was right at the beginning of the day.
You know, because even though we pre-pro'd the day before, it's all changed the day of.
Yeah.
The energy level coming in is so much more hyped day of.
Yeah, and that's when the gremlins come out in the machines.
Yep.
How has working with 1st of October affected your approach to engineering for other bands?
I mean, I guess I'm faster because of it. I can be ready to record even if it's not the optimal scenario. The exploration of plugins and use of them on the way in, it's all the only way I can get you guys. There's no time for me to play around with a microphone in front of an amp. Although a week and a half ago, for the first time in 6 years, I put SM57s in front of guitar amps.
Whoa.
And I haven't done that in 6 freaking years because of simulators and Kempers and neural DSPs and all the plugins that make guitar tones that are the same every time you need them to be. But then when I do get a system where like someone's coming in like, I've got this really great Fender amp from the 60s, I'm putting a mic in front of it for the first time and loving the way it sounded.
Yeah, was it a nice like return to form to mic amp again?
Like,
just
it's
fun.
It was great.
You have seen a difference with other clients.
I'm faster.
Yeah.
For sure.
That's awesome.
It's like boot camp.
Yeah, yeah. How long do you spend setting up the studio prior to Rob, Andrew, and crew getting there? Also, do you speak to Rob Scallon, lol, prior to the session about what instruments he wants to bring and prep for all that? So that's all the day before.
Yeah, I mean, you never really tell me what you're bringing. You just start showing up with stuff. And it has been the day before. Even when we went to Canada, we had the night before.
Yep.
We were able to bring everything in, get things stationed so that, you know, this would be where drums are. This is going to be the guitar world of, you know, 3 different DI boxes for when you're doing bass or guitar or the submarine or whatever.
Yeah, a full day just for setup.
Yeah, it would prevent us from making it in 12 hours if you tried to do all the...
Oh, yeah. There seem to be more technical difficulties all over the place this year. How much of an effect do you think this makes on both the mood and the final album?
If we do it right, it doesn't affect you guys.
Yeah.
You know, like, as long as we let you guys still go while we're figuring out whatever we need to do. If it's, can we get another camera in here? If I have to just restart Pro Tools, it's only about a minute.
Yeah, it's just a
so
quick...
it's not anything that would show stop. And that's the biggest stress, is that no matter what happens, there can't be one of those.
Yeah.
Because there's no second 1st of October. You know,
The only technical hiccup that really stressed me out was the camera's not working. Like one of the cameras not working. Because then it's like,
then
we
you're
lost
only
the
getting,
footage.
And you're only getting 2 angles instead of 3, which is still at least something.
Yeah, it worked out just
You know,
fine.
you could go down to 1 at all costs as long as someone's moving around and catching something. I mean, it's as long as you guys keep moving. Whatever that takes. If it's us stressing out, then as long as we don't stress you out by stressing out, then we're doing right.
Yeah, so I don't think it affected it that much. And I think video-wise, it made the video better.
It accidentally,
Yeah.
Happy accidents.
Yeah. Andrew and I were saying, too, that we think that's another reason why the video was longer this year, because there was just more things. Because anytime something goes wrong, of course, it's going to make it into the edit.
Yeah, to give you the idea of anything can happen.
How difficult of a process is it for you to take the emotional roller coaster of a recording session and record it into one cohesive listening experience for the album? How much do you experiment with the track order and the inclusion of those little moments of studio banter and dialogue?
You guys do the track order.
Yeah.
I have no idea. Other than Spooky Time being first, which was first on the day, like, I don't think anything stayed in the order that we actually
Yeah, I don't think
did
so.
it.
Headless.
Oh yeah, Headless was number
Headless
2
was
as well.
number 2.
That's
Yeah,
right,
So Spooky
yes.
Time and Headless were.
Yeah. Then when you see it in music videos, it's actually not in at all in
Yeah.
the order. So it's like, I could see the fatigue going back and forth in 1st of October, where it's like, oh, wait, that's like 8 hours in, but it's you're seeing it in the second, song or the third song or whatever.
The track order and like what moments of banter and dialogue that stay in, that's something that Andrew and I do in notes. But
Yeah.
you would first do the album and then Andrew and I would decide those things. But is it difficult to take the chaos of the recording session and then mix and master it?
Oh, every song is got different elements, so
Yeah.
it's like mixing different genres a lot of, and trying to make it into what would be like almost like a compilation album.
Yeah.
Like if I had like 10 artists, but they're all the same band. Like
Just
that.
totally different
yeah,
genres.
and to keep it a listening experience that song to song, if people still do that, and I know Spotify brought that back with like the album only kind of thing where you have to listen to track into track.
Oh, I didn't know about
Yeah,
that.
Adele, I think, was one of the reasons that happened.
Yeah.
Because sequence to record was a dying art.
Yeah.
Like how your song went into another song. And you guys did that with the AU at the end of Jangly Bones going into the pitch harmonic thing in Halloween. That's supposed to be the guitar's wolf.
Yeah, yeah.
And if that were on a cassette, which it is,
Yeah.
the song would go right into each other, and there'd be no 2-second gap that you normally have in a CD, or with streaming, you could hit shuffle and then it would never do that connection.
Do you use a different mastering chain for each song, or do you have a consistent workflow?
Every track gets a little bit of something on it, but then the master of the actual chain is got to be the same. Otherwise, it's not going to limit the album to be the same kind of level, track to track. The whole art of mastering is to eliminate the differences that would cause you to have to run to your stereo and do things.
Yeah. And they also said, either way, could you share some of your go-to processing elements?
A lot of the Steven Slate plugins, a lot of Ozone plugins. Mastering definitely is an Ozone thing. That's a whole series of components that most mastering desks would use, but it's all digital. With respect to how 1st of October is recorded, I shouldn't spend a ton of time mastering it.
Yeah.
It's just basically, like I said, to get rid of the inconsistencies track to track, make sure I can just have someone push play and listen to all 10 songs, especially this year with having to kick out a WAV file as the entire album
For the
without
cassette.
any stops for the cassette. And if it were something like a vinyl, same thing, you have to cut it at, your album's not even 22 minutes long, so
it's
the whole
18.
thing would fit on a side.
Yeah. We looked into it, and people wouldn't have got the vinyl if we did a vinyl for, they said, at least 11 months. So basically until the next 1st of October. This is just more praise. He did such an amazing job this
praise.
year. The best sounding album from the bunch, in my opinion.
Hey, all right, I should be getting better, and there's always tools that are coming out to make it better. This year I used stuff that's not even out yet.
Ooh, don't tell.
You might have been the first thing mastered through something that it's not out yet.
Ooh, can you say what it is?
No, I can't. Under an NDA, I cannot.
Another top comment. Is he now aware of how much we love him? Heart.
Aw, I am. I see the comments when people are saying I'm a saint for dealing with it. But I go back to my previous interview thing, and it's like, you guys are my clients. I mean, but we're friends too. So it's like, it's like hanging out with friends and it's work. That makes it so much more fun.
Yeah, and it's a hectic day and a frustrating day and a stressful day, but also that's what makes it
Yeah, getting
fun.
Andrew back in the States and coming back to where it all began. That's something that I hope always ends up, full circling wherever we end up. It's like Foo exists on 1st of October. It doesn't matter where, but this place has kind of been part of it from the beginning.
Yeah.
And it's nice to have it back every now and again.
Yeah, it's nice to be back. How much disk space does recording a Foo session take up?
Well, it goes back to the double thing going on,
Yeah.
right? I'm recording the multi-track stuff. Now that I'm rolling the entire, thing that you're doing, the whole 10 songs was maybe about 40 gig in audio. And on the SD card, it's the entire 12 hours of 1, 2, 3 tracks of lav plus stereo. So, I mean, it's way smaller than your video stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Especially with 3 cameras and all the footage
And all
rolling
of that
4K.
is in the project
and
too. How?
18 SD cards that do 128 gigabytes.
Wow.
2 terabytes of video.
Yeah. So
And under 100 gig of everything audio. 20-to-1 ratio.
yeah. So that so that data for just the day is 2
Yeah.
terabytes. Do the Foo sessions get easier or harder each year? For instance, was it easier this year because you had done it 3 times previously, or has it become harder each year due to more elements and instruments being introduced?
The difficulty level is always the same from,
Oh, yeah?
from what I'm doing because it's random no matter what.
Yeah.
Like you could be throwing a banjo or you could be throwing in a balalaika or mandolins or whatever it is. In the past, we added a grand piano. That was a different, element setup. different room that it's in. Like those are the things that don't really make it any more difficult, but it's just different.
Yeah. From our side, it's every year gets easier. This was by far the easiest year.
And I've seen people making comments about that, saying you need to do something to introduce a challenge.
I mean, it's already a challenge.
Like, what on earth?
Yeah.
These people are like clearly they aren't here for 12 hours and they don't see everything. That goes back to why I think there might be a need for a full-blown, like, behind-the-scenes 12-hour to be like, no way.
Yeah.
Is this even like, it's real. It's 100% crazy all the time.
I guess I could just do raw video for the entire day and then just use the audio track from the booth.
Yeah.
Like, that way we don't have to worry about all the overlap.
Yeah, because that's rolling even when you're not.
Through here.
I guess we could upload that video.
Yeah.
So I don't know if anyone would watch it. But we'd have to watch it all the way through if we say our address or something. Some personal information from someone else there that they don't want to know. Like, you have to watch the whole thing and be careful of that. Or we, like, dock Sophie or something, you know?
And
Like,
I always make you say your address out loud when I'm ordering Jimmy John's.
yeah, so that's the thing with those long videos. And then if you happen to not be aware of the one time we do the Jimmy John's order, then, like, my credit card is just on the internet.
Yeah.
You know, like...
Why do I have 10,000 Amazon charges?
Yeah.
This video has 10,000 views.
I bought 1,000 bass guitars yesterday. At this point, my credit card would be like, yeah, that's legitimate.
that's
Just let it go
normal.
through.
Yeah, exactly. They don't even question the activity.
How do you think Chaos ranks alongside the other Foo discography, in your opinion?
Like I said, it's the heavier album.
Yeah,
You
which
know,
makes it's
not
my
as,
favorite.
Yeah, it's not as folky or it's not as Primus. There's none of that.
there's not a
on
single
this.
Primus one.
Yeah, so there's none of those comments except for there's no Primus song this year.
Yeah.
Someone did make a comment about me saying something about the Weezer thing, and it actually was time-stamped. It's like
Yeah.
best comment in the video. It's like, we're at Weezer time.
Yeah.
Someone's like, please, more of that.
Those songs are like quicker to make, too.
Yeah.
Because they're simple.
The structures are there.
Structure, sure, but then you had to add tons of stuff to it.
Yeah, so I guess...
it did eat up a ton of time.
Yeah, so actually that song did eat up a ton of time, because we went the anthem route.
Yeah.
But if we had gone just Weezer, then it's just like power chords, distorted, some melodies on top
Yeah.
of it.
OG
It would be...
Weezer.
What is one tool or tools in your studio that made recording this album way easier than it would have been without it? I.e., tell me your secrets.
The Steven Slate virtual mic stuff, man.
Yeah.
I even posted on the Slate Facebook the day the video came out, and I said, without these products, this doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And I even did so far on something, and this is a secret that you probably don't even realize, on Find the Way, I actually automate microphones.
Oh, really?
I changed
What
the
is that?
overheads from a duller sound on the choruses to a very sharper sound on the verses because I wanted the
interesting.
hi-hat to cut through more. And because I only was using two mics, one on the hat side, one on the ride side, if I had used these, they're called AKG 451s, they're like little pencil condensers.
Yeah.
Those are super bright and very articulate. They get very like hi-hats. And I wanted that for the verses. But then when it came to the chorus where he's bashing, and it's too harsh. So I switched it to a ribbon mic.
Interesting.
And so there's automation on the overhead track that's literally switching microphones between
That's
verse and
really
chorus.
cool.
And I'd never done that before, and it worked perfectly.
That's
I
awesome.
was like, it smooths out the harshness in the choruses, brings in the sizzle that I needed on the hi-hat in the verses. And if I would have had to try that for real, I'd have
you
two
wouldn't be
mic
able to.
setups.
Yeah,
I would have two different sets
Yeah.
of overheads. And I just
That's
liked watching
really
the
cool.
microphone on the screen would literally go from the pencil to a ribbon mic, back to a pencil, back to a ribbon mic. I'm like,
Yeah.
this is neat. Not having a pop filter was challenging
Yeah.
because I had to run a deplosive plugin. That's another secret.
Yep.
All of your vocals on this album had poof, poof, poof everywhere.
because there's no pop filter.
And
on
so
the mic.
Isotope, this freaking amazing company, makes a deplosive. And I just highlight the whole track, hit one thing, done. No more P's anymore. And it saves me and makes Jake happy because I don't have this visual obstacle in his way.
Yeah, that's why we don't use a pop
Need
filter.
to see your faces.
Yeah, that's
And the
another part of
mic's,
this. We got
like,
it
coming
in
from
the
in
video
front of
too.
you.
Like the video is the main
The
product that
visual
we're really
is,
making,
yeah.
other than the
There's-
album.
It supersedes the audio. So I have to sacrifice and find solutions. That's the challenge. What are you giving me and how it's not optimal?
Because
And how can I
normally you
make
would
it
just have a
usable?
pop filter in front of the mic, and,
And
then
it
you
would
wouldn't
sound
have
good.
to do it. And then from our side, the submarine pickup
Yeah.
like saved us
That
a ton of
saved us
time.
time.
If you're writing with that, you can write knowing that the low strings are also the bass, and then track it at the same time with that other output.
And then from a mixing standpoint, it was a challenge because it didn't hold
course,
the same
yeah.
kind of weight. That was like the difference between like the first song and the second song, Headless. That was one of the submarine songs.
Yeah.
And the notes that you guys were sending me for the mixes kept on asking to have it feel like there was more low end or weight, and it was like, it's the
Yeah,
submarine did
you can
what
only
it
do
does,
so much. Yeah, with
and
the
trying
submarine,
to boost it only makes it muddier. So there's only so much you can do. You
But it
did
saves
on
time.
Find the Way, I think,
Yeah.
was also a submarine, but then there was piano. So I took the left hand of the piano and turned the low
Oh,
end up.
yeah.
And that filled in the bass, and so that one held its own, but there was none of that on Headless.
That saved us like maybe a half hour, which when you only have 12 hours to go, that's a long time.
Yeah,
to
it's
save.
almost lunch.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
Sorry, no lunch. We didn't save time. The bass track took your lunch.
Yeah, the bass took your lunch.
Yeah.
If there was an instrument that was going to eat your lunch,
It would
it's
be the
definitely
bass.
Yeah.
No, it would be the murder piano.
Yeah, yeah. I just recently had to throw that away.
You threw it away.
I threw it away. I like the fact that he's got a beard this year. Plus,
Absolutely.
what's the hardest thing you had to do for Rob?
Climbing 8 flights of stairs in New York
Oh.
with all that gear.
Yeah.
If that day let me know I needed to work.
Yeah,
Like,
we had to haul a lot of equipment. That was
Cora.
Cora. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was the Cora video.
Yeah, on the day, of course, of all days, their building had the elevator under construction
Yeah.
that day.
I
And he
forget what it was,
apologized
the
and gave
10th
us
floor or
waters,
something.
and he was
Yeah.
so gracious and awesome,
he
and
was
that
really nice.
like the music made up for it. But
Yeah, and then we just relaxed.
yeah, going down wasn't hard.
Yeah.
It was the going up, and I had all them bags. That was probably the hardest physical.
just going. Just
Yeah,
going up those
mentally
stairs.
is 1st of October.
This isn't one particular comment, but it was echoed amongst a lot of different people, which we'll end this video on, which is, where's Greg?
I wondered.
Yeah, I didn't.
I
I
wondered
didn't
where
think
he
about Greg
was.
the entire day.
And Granddad came back.
Yeah, Granddad,
You know?
but no Greg.
I mean, Greg could be stuck somewhere. He
Yeah,
might
maybe.
Have, he might have thought the session was back in Canada again.
we don't know where Greg was.
Hey, who knows?
Yeah, maybe he'll come back next year.
I hope so, because
so, too.
people have asked for him.
I don't miss him at all.
He has
Oh,
his
yeah.
own anthem.
Yeah, I don't care.
He does have a pin this year.
Greg has a pin.
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
part
he,
of the
yeah.
merch?
Yeah, okay, so
Greg
Greg's
is
back.
here.
He
Yeah.
But he didn't,
was just
make his
transformed
way
into a
onto
pin.
the album.
And I'm just kidding. I love Greg.
Yeah, but I don't think we need to have the same characters every time. I would have loved to have Greg there somewhere. We just, in the whirlwind of the day, we just never thought of Greg. Sorry, Greg. My friend Carl is the Greg in the...
Carl is so nice.
Oh, did you
finally
work
got
with
to
him?
meet Carl. He came and be an extra in my movie.
Oh, cool. So Greg is in Jake's movie. For the audience that doesn't know, Jake is making a horror movie right now.
Yeah.
Well, just finished shooting one. And Greg is in it.
And you're in it.
Yeah, I die in it. So Greg didn't make it to this album. Maybe because he was transformed into a pin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But maybe he'll transform back for the next album. Who knows? That's the interview. Thanks so much for being a fan of 1st of October.
Yeah, thank you.
And I guess we've been talking about it, but merchandise cassette this year, which is pretty cool if you want to pick that up.
Yeah.
Thanks
your
to
Greg
Rob.
pin.
Get your Greg
Yeah, I
pin.
might have to get a Greg pin now.
Yeah. Well, anyway, that was a long outro. Thanks for watching the video. Okay, sweet.